Welcome back to TTC. These are 4 NGK Iridium spark plugs that needed to be changed in. You may have noticed plugs these days are getting changed sooner and sooner, again, like the old days, but now due to direct injection, high compression, and turbocharged engines being commonplace, and while Iridium plugs are cool, they're not cheap. The copper plugs we all grew up with, these are not. A set of 4 NGK laser Iridium plugs, for example, go for 70 to 80 bucks. This package of them was from Rock Auto, and they showed up just loose in a bag. We also purchased the same advertised as Japanese-made NGK brand laser Iridium plugs from Amazon, from eBay, more from eBay, even more from eBay, and then later Amazon again. We did the same thing with Champion USA made Iridium plugs and Denso Japan Iridium plugs. Over $500 in spark plugs, and let me tell you, we didn't receive $500 worth of spark plugs because some of these are not like the others. They are straight up counterfeit, a growing issue we think is worth highlighting these days, so we're going to name and shame those outfits that shipped us bogus goods, because for some reason folks on the internet don't like doing that, but we don't care. We have proof. Come sue us if you want. And in the process, show the world ways in which they are different, ways to spot that, ways to measure them, and run them to see those differences all shot in high speed, then talk about what that might mean for you if you're on the unlucky end of one of these transactions. Now let me save you the suspense here. While these 4 showed up loose in the packaging from Rock Auto, with having the 4 original OEM NGK plugs here across everything that we can assess and measure today, we can confirm these Rock Auto NGKs are legit. Thank God. I think I'd have a heart attack seeing Rock Auto fall to the dark side. So we have some eBay NGK examples, Amazon, and more eBay to compare to those. Each were marked to indicate so we didn't lose track, as these all do look very similar. Starting with a couple eBay examples first, right off the bat. While these both come in 4 packs this time, one is a bit darker silver on the box than the other. And the one with darker silver, the right side example here, has all NGK brand logos pointed up, while the center one here has the part numbers facing up. Also, when you get down to the part numbers on the right side example, they are a bit more spaced out on those numbers in a different font from each of these as well. Taking the individuals out here, we can finally compare the real goods. We've confirmed our real on the left here, and yeah, the ones on the right are darker silver on these small boxes as well. And a couple differences around the box design, like the placement of the barcode, despite the barcode being the same and both say made in Japan. Taking the actual plugs out, one is going to have a loose-fitting cardboard tube protecting the business end, and so far the darker packaging outlier on the right here is going to have snugly fit cardboard tubes with ends that are sort of cupped around the working plug end of them. The ones on the right, there's definitely some differences to pick up on so far, but these all require you having new boxes of each, sources, preferably legit ones, to compare to. If you're doing your own plugs, that's less likely, so suggestion number 2 from us is one of the cheapest, measuring plug gap. While not foolproof, some plugs just show up with the wrong gap. It's a good place to start, as consistency in itself can still be a good sign if they are all about the same. These plugs call for 30 thousandths gap, pretty narrow, and the Rock Autos come in at 30 to 31 thousandths. The middle eBay option here is coming in at 29 to 30 thousandths again. And while I'd recommend a wire style gauge for measuring Iridium plug gap, they are fragile, just showing it can be done with something that's $2 if treated with respect. And the ones on the right are measuring 42 thousandths, and not even consistently 42 thousandths. We're seeing 28, 38, and even 60 thousandths. Even cheaper than using a $2 gauge is using your peepers, because some changes and just differences in quality in general can be seen, though my sight isn't what it used to be. So for this purpose, we're going to show you fine folks at home up close and personal by employing our new $2,000 digital microscope. The threads of the middle eBay NGK source look quite nice in person, but blown up like this, I mean, they look a little bit more rough. But just check out the right side eBay source. These threads straight from the box look not great. This is probably why the cardboard on the other ones are loose fitting. Snug fitting tubes leave a whole lot of cardboard debris on here. And while the threads themselves have flat tops that have recessed seams in each, like it was a squished channel made when they formed each one of these thread peaks, which is no longer a thread peak. The stamping on the hex of the plug looks pretty consistent and neat among the Rock Auto and middle eBay source, with M43J stamped into them. While this looks like maybe they tried to put the same letters, not even sure. The finish is way worse, though that's harder to tell in person versus in a microscope. The partial stamping is noticeable though, that difference. The Iridium electrode also looks like this on the Rock Auto, both top and bottom laser welded on here, fairly neat as far as these go. And then I suppose whatever this is, if this even is Iridium and just basically completely missing the opposing side electrode on the strap. Some plugs are like this, some others might be marketed as double platinum or double Iridium versus just one side on something like this. The NGK laser line is not supposed to be this way though. You're supposed to have Iridium on the top and bottom, and using Iridium because it's the least reactive material, so degrades slower under today's mileage stretching, high compression, turbo boosted small engines, yet large vehicle that small engines pushing around, high strain sorts of applications. The strap itself is tapered, ground down on the end here. It's like pointed for some reason versus these, which are squared off from the Rock Auto source. So what's all this look like in use? Well, another way you might be able to distinguish the good from the gotcha plugs is a spark plug tester like this. These are 20 to 45 bucks depending on how many holes you want. We got this one because it goes up to 9,000 RPM. And when it comes to these plugs we bought, there is enough of a difference to spot with just your own eyes in a dimly lit room. But we're going to show you things zoomed in and slowed down, way down with the help of our 10,000 frames per second high-speed camera. The one on the right, well, let's just call it what it is. I think you've caught on by now. The right eBay example is Counterfeit. The spark quality is just gnarly. Even when properly gapped, it's going to be clear since it has no opposing Iridium material there. It's not arcing to the same place each time on the strap and just inconsistent in general. This is also noticeable in a way you can hear it. It's just louder, not clean sounding versus the real NGK. The last and sometimes clearly definitive way to spot real versus fake is to measure resistance on these plugs. It won't work on all plugs as some plugs aren't resistor type and others naturally read out of limits even in kilo ohms, but these used OEM plugs measure 4.29 kilo ohms to 4.47 or 4,470 ohms. It's important to try to get the meter into kilo ohms each time, as reading this isn't always the easiest thing to do, and auto scaling can make that even more difficult. It's not always straightforward on your first attempt. The Rock Auto and then the middle ones we bought from an outfit called 60 Auto on eBay measure 4.2 to 4.53 kilo ohms. That's a good sign and within the published spec for these as well. And the fake ones over or 8.29 kilo ohms, and also the rest of these outside the limit, and that's trying several times each. Every other plug was an OL reading, with one of them being 8.29 kilo ohms. Reading too high in itself isn't damning if they were all like that. It's when comparing it to real ones and published specs that makes for the smoking gun here. These are a real garbage set of plugs sold by SDFFFW9 on eBay. Thanks, guy. This upstanding citizen is selling a lot of different plugs, including Motorcraft, plus Honda parts and German auto parts, which are all possibly equally dubious. These plugs cost us $76 a set, within $2 to $4 from the real ones, so it's not even a too good to be true situation. Let's take a look at a handful more, and some more brands like Champion and Denso, and then we'll dive into why this actually matters for you, since they are all sparking after all. Here are 3 additional singles from Amazon and eBay. We got eBay number 3 over here, Amazon NGK, and eBay source number 4 pictured right. Right away, the middle one from Amazon has the different looking packaging again, and with NGK text alone, no logo design on the front. But yeah, this followed a similar story, though this is one with better looking threads overall. It sees an OL reading every time for resistance, while the other two measured 4.42 and 5.48 kilo ohms. That's within range. And yes, the Amazon one here too is missing the top Iridium piece. These ones were bought from KHC Auto Parts. I wouldn't use this as the go-to method spotting something missing like this. There are fakes with all the pieces where they should be, but if you do get one that looks like this when your stock plugs have the Iridium on the top and the bottom, it's a simple and clear indication you're not getting what you paid for. Okay, Champion. Champion makes Iridium spark plugs, except these aren't as expensive as the laser NGKs. $30 to $36 for these US made plugs, but that apparently doesn't stop outfits from making and con men from selling less than legitimate examples of these two we find. Again, we have Rock Auto left, Amazon middle, and eBay situated right. These are all priced within $3 of each other, so we're not just buying the cheapest we could find either. Right off the hop, It's not looking very promising. The box shown bottom here has a different gray, darker than these two above, and brighter white text on this side. And on this side, the bottom box is a simple 9410 model number, no gap info, no torque spec, batch number. And the 4-piece count here is also not the same red color as the other two. It does say made in the USA, but written atop the barcode, unlike the other two. And that gray color difference carries on to the individual boxes here. The individual boxes themselves also different sizes for no real reason. 0.95 inches versus 0.85 on the right side one. These, if they do contain a fake, you're going to have a harder time finding it once you take them out. The gap should be 40 thousandths, and these measured 39, 40, and 41 thousandths. More from the example on the right out of that box, we saw as high as 44 thousandths, but nothing I haven't seen before from real plugs. The resistance on the right side eBay example comes in at 24 kiloohms and 23 to 26 kiloohms and 24. Now, is that good? We couldn't find a spec for these published and don't have any of that came out of a vehicle, but these other two sources, including the Rock Auto, are measuring out of limits. So them not all matching isn't a good sign. Looking up close in the microscope, look at the barcode lines on this box, the right example, and the barcode lines of the one that came from the Rock Auto. Very obvious differences. Plastic tubes will do you a treat, no debris on any of these like we saw on the cardboard, and the threads, they do look pretty similar. If you're asking me, this would be hard to spot. 2 letters stamped into the hexes, the Rock Auto saying NY, looking more centered and different to the eBay seller. When it comes to the electrode, the Iridium bit, it looks brazed on or something like that, not laser welded on essentially. On the left one here, pretty clean Iridium pin, sharp right angle edges, and the one on the right looks to have a little bit of a Pisa Tower thing going on, but from other angles, it's not so bad. Attached by what looks like the same method, and just a little bit less sharp and clean, some debris left on here from the manufacturing process. Really hard to tell though, these are quite close. The most difference I could spot was this square stamping shape on the left side ones becomes more of a smeared rectangle on this right side one, not sure why. When it comes to the spark on these, your naked eye isn't gonna be enough on this one, with all of them having the single Iridium at the base and none on the strap. They sound all the same as well. It takes slowing them down, way down to see any difference. And then, I mean, even here, hard to tell much with the questionable one on the right looking similar. The arcs look about equally random between them. It took us speeding up that spark to 7 and then later 9,000 RPM to notice here. Once we shot at an even higher frame rate, take note of the spark plug on the left and middle. These have purple arcs that are then blue on contact with the strap, both of them, even bright blue for the most part. Now check out the one on the right, purple arc, and pretty much always a purple contact point as well at this very high RPM. Spark is basically just plasma ionized gas, and the color comes from what it's ionizing. The blue here indicates a higher plasma temperature and that it has a clean and fast attachment and detachment. The purple here implies a lower plasma temperature, slower attachment and detachment, and also implies, when seeing this difference, an incorrect amount of effective resistance on the plug and a higher contribution of metal vapor, as in the strap itself is contributing vapor and not just the gases from the air. This wastes energy and it's turning that into heat instead of more ionization or basically spark that you would want to be seeing. It's eating up the strap slowly, we're guessing due to cheaper nickel steel, incorrect plating, or just easier to erode alloy being used. And keep in mind, all this footage we've been showing you is under no pressure, no chaotic cylinder vents. So if this is noticeable in atmospheric, dial that up to 11 inside of a cylinder. We bought this one, the right side one in question, from ASAP Used Auto Parts on eBay, 99.1% positive feedback. They sell a lot of different stuff used and new, 3,500 plus items currently for sale. Your mileage may vary. All right, and lastly, these won't take up too much of your time. The Denso Iridium, these might be the best deal yet in that they are 40 to 44 bucks. For each of these, Rock Auto, Amazon, and eBay again, and they are Iridium on both sides, electrode and the strap end. So similar to the NGKs, but for around half the price, although different application as well. These all have the same packaging on the 4-packs and on the individual plug boxes, and they were all stacked in the same way. So close that we couldn't spot anything on any of these. They're all gapped the same, 38 to 39 thousandths on each. The thread quality is the same. All of them measure outside limits on ohms, and they all do indeed have 2 pieces of Iridium. The only difference we could tell on any part is the middle set from Amazon. When under the microscope, this welded on center iridium electrode end looks a bit off. Larger welds as well versus what looks like smaller laser welds on the one from Rock Auto. And this one, yeah, it's just off center, which I mean, probably wouldn't have even mentioned this if it were not for the center Amazon example. Also, the spark climbing up the strap, not contacting the opposing iridium wire every time like the others. It dances around a bit, while the other two sources just very rarely ever do that. So it is either a fake, a very well-made fake, or just a whole box of 4 made slightly worse, basically a bad batch or something. We bought these from Amazon, shipped and sold by Amazon, so even like Amazon in this case, not a foolproof method, if what we're seeing happens to be true. In fact, the only sources through this entire process that have been legit online sales outfits to avoid getting shafted have been Rock Auto, and oddly, this company called 60 Auto. The good, real Amazon champion plugs were 60 Auto. The good NGKs from eBay, 60 Auto's eBay store. We even later, after this, bought NGKs from 60 on Amazon to get NGKs from both their eBay and Amazon stores, and they were also legit. They have their own website with all of NGK's offerings and allow you to submit warranty claims. No affiliation, we bought all these, but I feel if they offer the plug type, Amazon should just remove all their other listings because these were also on average cheaper than the fake ones we bought. This should be their standard. So why does all this matter, real and fake, when it comes to small differences we're seeing, other large differences, but they all would ignite some atomized fuel probably? Well, the reason these plugs cost a lot, which is also the reason they are knocked off the price, is for real reasons. If this looks like this in your cylinder and like this weaker spark at atmospheric pressure and room temperature, imagine in a direct injection turbocharged high compression for peak fuel mileage cylinder type pressures and temperatures. The Skyactiv 2.5 turbo here, for example, this can run 87, 89, 91, and 93 octane gas and adjusts its fuel map based on that. One of the ways it's able to do that is through monitoring spark. You'll notice these coils are 4-wire. While most coil-on plugs are 3-wire, the 4th wire is a signal wire that monitors spark activity, quality, and knock. If it senses deteriorating spark quality, spark blowout, or especially pre-detonation, it will pull timing and adjust fuel mixture. If the plug has a resistance, not just out of normal like a very well used one, but way off or even all over the place from one cylinder to the next, when that happens, this whole system that's monitoring this does not work nearly as well as it should, or may even do the opposite and confuse itself, adjusting things worse, leading to not just misfires like a cylinder being down in the old days with a bad plug, but actual long-term engine damage from fuel mixture and spark timing being adjusted out of whack. And best case, the spark plugs look like this, and you're gonna get lower quality ignition, worse gas mileage, and a service life much shorter than expected from accelerated vaporizing of that strap. We hope this information was useful to you, or at least interesting to watch. Tell your friends and family about this same sort of phenomenon if they're buying plugs. We make videos every Friday. Click subscribe if that sounds interesting. Thanks for watching.